Hello everybody, my name is Ardalan Qilavizadeh. I had numerous questions about the content of my book, and I think 7 days ago I had added a new category in my book, the one page especially for the people that want to start growing saffron indoors. And I know the most important parts in the purchasing of the bulbs of saffron. In my book, there is a part in the last page of my book. There is a part for the companies that sell the bulbs of saffron. The very detailed information, the emails, the phones, the country, all country in the majority country in the Europe and the Asia and some in other continents, that you can easily each country that you live in that you can easily purchase the bulb of saffron, because I received the numerous requests and questions about, and I would like that introduce you the content of my book. It is the first step, the growing saffron indoors, and the introductions and the points in the regions that the farmers work in the growing saffron outdoors, because it's very important for you that you should know about the saffron outdoors, because the country that have the growing saffron outdoors, you can easily provide the bulbs of saffron. The introducing of saffron, and also why the saffron is so expensive, and what is the main reason for the saffron is the saffron, and why growing saffron indoors, the properties that you should, general benefits to growing vertical farming, for example, no need for lands. Why, for example, I have pointed the over 20 point, and started with 100 square meters chambers. For example, in how many square meters in 100 square meters, and everything that you need. For example, growing saffron indoors, the most important points about purchasing the bulbs. What specifications you should consider the time of the purchasing the bulbs. For example, if you, in the last page of my book is the phones. What should you do after you contact with the companies? For example, the specification of these are the specification of the bulbs. The most important points about the purchasing the bulbs. Step by step, I have started about the after the purchasing the bulbs, you need to building a chamber from 0 by 100 of the specification of the building, the dimension of the chamber, the insulations, the electricity that you use in the building, everything, dimension, specification, all kind of the insulation, the price of the, for example, if you need to panel, how many panel, all insulation. For example, for wall, for the ceiling, for the everything that you need for the insulation. For example, what is the dimension, the density for the wall, the density for the ceiling, the density for the floor, and introducing, for example, what is the most expensive, the cheapest insulation. For example, the panels is very expensive. Some people that want to start commercial and they do not have money limitations, okay, you can panel. But some people, for example, in some country, they do not have access to panel because it's very expensive. I very detailed introduced, for example, the insulation that you need. That is, for example, this block is very cheap. It's cheaper than the polyester. For example, the panel, because we have all kind of the insulation. I pointed the 2, 3, or 4 insulation for your building. After the insulation, you need to, for example, the flow, the height, the dimension, the width, and how to build a farm of the saffron. All things from the zero. For example, how to build, for example, you need a fully enclosed. You cannot start in the greenhouse with the plastic, completely closed with the cement. And also, again, about the things that you need to in the building. For example, the window for light, the window for CO2. After building, started with the equipment. What equipment that you need? Step to step, the equipment that you need. For example, the sprayer, even the very small things, the hose, the drainage. I have pointed and with a specification that you can easily, with this page, you can, for example, in the company and purchase the equipment. Also, after purchasing the book, you have 5 days free online consultation that I can answer to all your questions. And the shelves, for example, the shelves is the iron shelves. We have the, for example, the profile for the, because and also the best shelves that you need, the specification of shelves that you need, for example, the model for the shelves, and what specifications, and the dimension of the shelves, the access of the shelves. For example, the distance between, what is the best the dimension between 2 rows of shelves, the distance between 2 floors, for trays, for example, with the completed explanation. Another thing that the bulb that you need for after, because after flowering some of my training to keep the bulbs of saffron, how we can, with the considering the boxes is very important in the shelf. For example, this kind of shelves completely explained about this kind of shelves that after flowering that you can easily propagate in the shelf. And after that, about the air handling unit, I explained completely about the air handling unit, how you can work with the air handling unit, what is the meaning of the air handling unit. The step I introduce the part of the air handling unit, the dimension of the air handling unit, the electricity that uses, for example, for air handling unit, for example, how much kilowatt per hours you need, the electricity that your, for example, the people that was supposed to that come to your farm and install the electricity, the air handling unit, the situation of the air handling unit in my book, and the how you can control CO2 via air handling unit. This is completely explained about the air handling unit, the situation of the plastic duct, the situation of the plastic duct, the distance between the 2 ducts, and also this very complete. I explained the boiler, the chiller, and how many, for example, you live in the country, very cold region. For example, the boiler, the people that live in the Germany, Canada, they don't need, they need to boiler. But the Indian people, the Arab countries, the sample country in the Africa, they don't need to this. But the chiller, the specification chiller, the consumption of the electricity of the chiller, what is the meaning of the chiller. I explained the chiller, and for example, it is not correct. For example, the best situation for the for the chiller, and for example, this is wrong. For example, unfortunately, some people use the air conditioner that we use in the house. It's not suitable. I introduce, for example, the devices that you need for the control of the factor air, because it's very important in the flowering of the bulbs, and also another things for CO2 meters, also for the another devices that you need for, and sensor that you need to test everything before. For example, the dimension of the door, what is the specification for door of the Saffron, completely explained. Drainage, what is the rule of the drainage, how we can construct a drainage, why we should have a drainage, for preventing the diseases and disorder. And after explain, I have in the model created a model for how we can gather the equipment. After the gathering the equipment, okay, you should know about the growth period of the saffron. For example, in the autumn, what temperature we need, what humidity we need. In the summer, what temperature we need. And also in the September, January, for example, in the northern hemisphere, in the October, in the southern hemisphere like Australia and South Africa, for example, the time of the flowering in the 1 month later or 2 months later. Now, for example, okay, respectively, after finishing the building and equipment, now the time of the purchasing. After purchasing the bulb, the stages after, for example, what should we do after purchasing the bulb? Okay, sorting the bulb, how the sorting, what should we do after receiving the bulbs? What should we do after receiving the bulb? And after that, cleaning and the peels, removing the peels and the other things. Explain what should we do for disinfectant of the bulbs of saffron, and also explain about after receiving the bulbs of saffron. For example, in this line, I explained that when you receive, for example, you need to the one temperature, and after that 25, after 20 centigrade, what we need to 20 centigrade, what days we should the 10 centigrade, and how, and also 1 month after the receiving the bottle of saffron, what should we do about the sprouts? 2 sprouts we should keep, 3 sprouts we should keep, I don't know. And after that, the temperature. I divided the temperature. For example, the step from 1 month to 1 month, this temperature. From this month, completely explained. For example, this October need to centigrade. When we need to 10 centigrade. What is the best criteria? What is the index? And humidity. For example, the humidity in this month we do not need. I pointed CO2. And CO2 in summer, for example, we need to, for example, 4,000 ppm, 3,000 ppm, 2,000 ppm. Light, for example, in this month we do not need. In this month we need high, in this month very low. And after that, respectively, in my book I have pointed, for example, from the bulbs like this. After that, please focus in the laptop. For example, respectively, gradually the bulbs, my book is move with this, and flower, and the time of flowering, the harvesting, harvesting. What should we do at the time of the flowering? Okay, the bulb is like with picture, with the explain. When we have the time of the harvesting, that what hours and what time is better for the harvesting the flowers. For example, 1,000 kilogram gives us, for example, amount of the grams, x grams, for example, this saffron. And how many kilogram bulbs, for example, this is a very question about the, for example, 1,000 kilograms gives us, for example, 100 grams, 200 grams, 300 grams saffron. For example, how many kilogram the fresh air, for example, 1 kilogram fresh air, fresh flowers gives us, for example, 100 grams. For example, this is the relation. For example, how many kilogram fresh flower, how many kilogram bulbs of saffron. And after flowering, what should we do? For example, this is the time of the flowering. Also after flowering, for example, we can with the grow bag and the vermiculite. For what is the material after flowering that we can, with the considering the shelves of saffron, and we can keep the saffron in the winter. And the explanation that we need, to after flowering of the bulbs, and what should we do that we can easily keep the bulbs of saffron inside the greenhouse. The stage of nutrition, that's very important. The name of the fertilizing operation, the name of the fertilizing, and also the amount, the dosage of the fertilizer. For example, this NPK, for example, 2 kilograms in 1,000 liters. How we can, which month we should give fertilizer, and the name of the fertilizer. This is explanation about the fertilizer. The explanation about the name of the fertilizer. For example, at the first step, we need to biological fertilizer with the basic manure and fertilizer. And the rules of the, for example, is this the name of the fertilizer? For example, the name of with the pictures, and after vegetative phase. And the rules of, for example, the manganese, the rule of the nitrogen, the rule of phosphorus. For example, the phosphorus it needs for the volume of the bulbs of saffron, because you once purchase the bulbs. What should we do? For example, if you purchase the bulbs for 1 year, for 8 years, it doesn't need to any purchasing the bulbs of saffron. In these pages, I explain about the propagation of the bulbs of saffron. That doesn't. Classification of saffron after harvesting, for example, the negging. How? Because we have, for example, you have the 1 kilogram saffron. For example, Ardalan have the 1 kilogram saffron, my saffron is 10,000 euros. Another person has a 1 kilogram saffron is even 1,000 euro. It doesn't have any value because the process of the drying is very bad, you know. After harvesting is until harvesting we have the full of the flower, very good, but unfortunately the people, some people they do not know anything about that the drying process, how we should the dry of the saffron. It is very important also after flowering, and the classification of the saffron after harvesting, and with the pictures. I mentioned the name, and now with this, for example, this the best saffron. This not the best saffron. They should separate it. This is the negging. For example, the pushal. It's not so expensive. I explained the vision of the saffron types, the specification that determines you have the high quality or low quality, the standards of the saffron. Okay. For example, you should separate the yellow part, the red part, the purple part. For example, the color of the saffron. What should we do? Because in the video, if you want to export your saffron, you should have very high. The analysis of your saffron should be high. The test of saffron, for example, the color for corrosive. The test of saffron picrocorrosive, and the smell is related to the saffronol pointed. And how to dry saffron. Traditional dry saffron with machine. This is I explain the traditional. For example, if you produce amount under 4 kilogram of the dry saffron, it doesn't need to purchase the machine drying machine. For example, if every year, for example, for 100 square meters, you only produce 2 kilogram or 3 kilogram, I learned you in how you can traditional way you dry your saffron. And the ironing and pressing saffron. And also, this is the, for example, the traditional with pictures, with picture traditional. And also after that, I explain the best way, for example, for having the quality and with machine. With the machine in this, for example, in 7 minutes or 10 minutes, you can dry your saffron. And also all things related to drying saffron, because it's very important, the drying saffron. And also the price of the saffron, the business of saffron, and the golden points. After that, the golden points that you face, for example, each holds, for example, 5 racks. The golden, for example, make sure bulbs are purchased during dormancy, for example, in Holland in June or July, and South Africa, for example, in the April or May. The time of this is very important because some people, for example, in South Africa, in the Kenya, in the Australia, is completely different to other country. And after that, this is summary. But in the 1 page summary and the question that you have faced. And fungal diseases, and this is very important. For example, you are cultivating in the face with some face, it's very strange. Okay, how when if we see this, for example, this disorder, what should we do? For example, this is the very black point. What is the name of the disease and disorder, and what we should do? It is a flower, but there is a black points. What should we do? For example, with this name in the below of the picture, and how you can combat with the diseases. For example, this is related to the virus. For example, the stigma after harvesting, what should we do? For example, the mite, what should we do? For example, this is the very black points, the name with combat. For example, the yellowing of this plant, yellowing of the leaves, what should we do? For example, in the 6 lines, 7 lines, or 3 paragraph, I explain what should we do. For example, yellowing, viral diseases. For example, this is the name of the viral diseases. The petals, what should we do? For example, the carroting of the bulbs of saffron. After flowering, your shape of your bulb is like this. Because there are numerous reasons that I pointed to, reasons of the carroting in the bulbs. And also saffron stigma grows. And for example, this is genetic. For example, this is also wrong. This specific says genetic disorder. And also whitening of the petal of the saffron like this. For example, the cobweb molds. This is the very molds, and we shouldn't allow. And what should we do preventing this disorder? Because destroyed all our endeavors. And the trichoderma, for example, with the shape, with the pictures, the name, and the reasons, and also the name of this please, and the name of at the last page, deleted the numbers of the email of the company that sells the bulbs of saffron. After purchasing the book, also you have 5 days free online consultation that I can answer to all your questions. To contact me, WhatsApp for ordering my book is 0098 935 825 3945. Thank you so much.